Imagine a world where the stars align in ways you never thought possible, where two souls from different galaxies find each other against all odds. She was lost, alone, and searching for answers among the stars. He was just trying to survive another day on this spinning rock we call home. But when their paths collide, they discover that love transcends time, space, and even species. From cosmic mysteries to forbidden emotions, this is a tale of courage, connection, and the power of believing in something greater than yourself. Will they rewrite the rules of the universe? Or will the weight of their differences tear them apart? Subscribe now to witness a story that will take your breath away. A journey through the cosmos and into the heart. The night sky shimmered like liquid diamonds over the desolate plains of Wyoming. Stars burned brightly, as if whispering secrets to anyone willing to listen. For most people, it was just another quiet evening under the heavens. But not for Ethan Carter. As he drove his old pickup truck down the winding dirt road, he noticed something unusual. A streak of light slicing across the horizon. It wasn't a shooting star. It moved too deliberately, too purposefully. Before he could process what he was seeing, the object plummeted toward Earth with a deafening roar, disappearing behind the hills. Curiosity got the better of him. Pulling over, Ethan grabbed a flashlight and started walking toward the impact site. His boots crunched against the dry grass, and the cool breeze carried the faint scent of ozone. When he finally reached the crater, he froze. Nestled amidst scorched earth and twisted metal shards lay a ship unlike anything he'd ever seen. Smooth, iridescent, and pulsating with a soft blue glow. And then he saw her. She emerged cautiously, her movements graceful yet hesitant. Her skin shimmered faintly, reflecting the moonlight, and her large, luminous eyes scanned the surroundings with both fear and wonder. She looked fragile, almost ethereal, but there was an undeniable strength in her presence. Ethan instinctively raised his hands to show he meant no harm. "It's okay," he said softly, though he doubted she understood him. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, one human, one alien, connected by nothing more than the shared mystery of the universe. Little did Ethan know, this encounter would change everything. The alien girl blinked slowly, tilting her head as if studying Ethan like a curious animal. Her slender fingers twitched, and a faint hum emanated from her body, resonating with the air around her. Ethan swallowed hard, unsure whether to feel terrified or fascinated. "I'm Ethan," he stammered, pointing to himself. She tilted her head further, mimicking his gesture. Then, to his astonishment, she placed a hand over her chest and spoke. Her voice was melodic, layered with harmonics that seemed to vibrate directly into his soul. Though he couldn't understand the words, the meaning was clear. She was introducing herself. "I'll call you Lyra," Ethan decided aloud, naming her after the constellation shining above them. Whether she liked it or not, she didn't protest. Instead, she stepped closer, her glowing eyes locking onto his. Ethan felt an inexplicable warmth spread through him, as though her very presence carried some kind of energy. As dawn approached, Ethan realized he couldn't leave her out here alone. Whatever had brought her to Earth, it clearly hadn't been planned. Her ship was damaged beyond repair, its surface cracked and darkened. Without hesitation, he offered her a ride back to his cabin. She hesitated briefly before nodding, trusting him despite having no reason to do so. Back at his modest cabin, Ethan introduced Lyra to the basics of human life. He showed her how to use a faucet, explaining the concept of water. He handed her a blanket, which she draped over her shoulders like a sacred artifact. Every mundane detail fascinated her. The flicker of fire in the hearth, the sound of birds chirping outside, the texture of bread between her fingers. Communication proved challenging at first. Lyra communicated through gestures, sounds, and flashes of light that danced across her skin. Over time, however, Ethan began to decipher patterns in her behavior. Certain tones corresponded to specific emotions, and certain colors indicated moods. Red meant danger, green signaled curiosity, and gold radiated joy. Despite the language barrier, a bond began to form. Ethan found himself opening up to her in ways he never had with anyone else. He told her about his late father, who had taught him astronomy as a child. He confessed his fears of being stuck in this small town forever. In return, Lyra shared glimpses of her own world through fragmented images projected onto the walls. She showed him swirling nebulae, crystalline forests, and cities floating among the clouds. But as days turned into weeks, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that Lyra was hiding something. There were moments when her expression grew distant, her gaze fixed on the stars outside the window. What was she searching for? And why had she come here? One evening, as Ethan tinkered with an old radio, Lyra approached him with urgency. She pressed her palm against his forehead, and suddenly visions flooded his mind. He saw galaxies colliding, planets imploding, and civilizations rising and falling. Most shockingly, he saw her, a leader among her people, tasked with safeguarding a powerful artifact capable of reshaping reality itself. When the vision ended, Ethan stumbled backward, gasping for air. What was that?" he demanded, clutching his head. Lyra's expression softened, and she gestured toward the stars. Through broken fragments of English she'd picked up, she explained, "Artifact, stolen, must find." Ethan pieced together the truth. Lyra's mission had gone awry when her ship malfunctioned, stranding her on Earth. Worse still, the artifact she sought had fallen into the wrong hands, or rather, the wrong galaxy. If it fell into the possession of a hostile race known as the KRYLL, they could unleash chaos across the universe. Though overwhelmed, Ethan knew he couldn't turn away, not only because he cared for Lyra, but because he now understood the stakes. Together, they set out to locate the missing artifact, embarking on a journey that would test their limits and their hearts. Ethan and Lyra spent their days scavenging for clues about the artifact's whereabouts. They began by analyzing the remnants of her crashed ship, hoping to extract data from its damaged systems. Ethan, with his limited knowledge of electronics, managed to rig up a makeshift interface using an old laptop and some spare wires he found in his garage. Lyra placed her glowing hands on the device, her energy syncing with the alien technology. The screen flickered to life, displaying streams of symbols and patterns that made no sense to Ethan but clearly resonated with Lyra. She pointed to one sequence, a jagged line pulsing faintly, and nodded vigorously. "Signal," she said, her voice clearer now as her grasp of English improved. "It's a signal?" Ethan asked, excitement bubbling within him. "Where is it coming from?" Lyra traced a path across the map Ethan had pinned to the wall, her finger stopping somewhere near the Nevada desert. Ethan frowned. "That's not far from Area 51, he muttered under his breath. Of course it would be there. Despite the danger, they agreed to investigate. Lyra's determination was contagious, and Ethan couldn't deny the thrill of being part of something so much bigger than himself. As they packed supplies, Ethan noticed Lyra staring at the stars again. Her expression was a mixture of longing and resolve. He wondered if she missed her home or if she was simply overwhelmed by the weight of her mission. Either way, he vowed to stand by her side no matter what. Their journey to Nevada was fraught with tension. Every passing mile brought them closer to answers but also to potential threats. Lyra remained vigilant, her heightened senses alert to any sign of danger. At night, she insisted on keeping watch while Ethan slept, her luminous form casting eerie shadows around the campsite. When they finally reached the coordinates indicated by the signal, they were met with an unsettling sight. A massive crater surrounded by scorched earth, eerily similar to the one where Ethan had first found Lyra. In the center lay a shard of crystalline material, pulsating with the same blue glow as her ship. Lyra approached it cautiously, her hand trembling as she extended it toward the object. As soon as her fingers brushed the crystal, a surge of energy coursed through her body, causing her to collapse. Ethan rushed to her side, panic gripping his chest. "Lyra, are you okay?" She groaned, her eyes fluttering open. "Memories flooding," she whispered. Images of her people, the artifact, and the Carawello flashed before her mind's eye. She explained haltingly that the artifact was fragmented, its pieces scattered across Earth. Each fragment held a piece of the puzzle, and they needed to retrieve them all before the KRLL could intervene. Ethan sighed heavily. "So we're looking for needles in a haystack, huh?" Lyra smiled weakly. "Needles important." The search for the fragments tested their bond in ways neither could have anticipated. Lyra grew stronger with each recovered piece, her abilities expanding as the artifact's power merged with her own. She could now manipulate light and sound, creating illusions to distract pursuers or shield them from view. Yet, despite her growing strength, she relied on Ethan's resourcefulness and unwavering support. One evening, as they sat by a campfire, Ethan asked, "Do you ever regret coming here? To Earth, I mean." Lyra tilted her head thoughtfully.
Regret? No.
"Found you." Her words caught him off guard, filling him with a warmth he hadn't felt in years. "I'm glad I found you too," he admitted quietly. Their connection deepened with every shared moment. Though their worlds were vastly different, they discovered common ground in their love for beauty. In the way sunlight danced on water, in the rhythm of rain against leaves, in the quiet comfort of simply being together. For Ethan, Lyra became a beacon of hope in a life that had once felt stagnant. And for Lyra, Ethan represented humanity at its best: kindness, resilience, and courage. Not everyone welcomed their presence. News of strange occurrences began spreading, drawing unwanted attention. Government agents, conspiracy theorists, and bounty hunters alike started tracking their movements. One night, as they huddled in an abandoned warehouse, they heard the unmistakable hum of drones circling overhead. "We can't stay here," Ethan said urgently. Lyra nodded, her golden glow dimming to avoid detection. Using her powers, she created a diversion, a dazzling display of lights that lured their pursuers away. They slipped out unnoticed, but the encounter left them shaken. "They're getting closer," Ethan muttered as they fled into the darkness. Lyra placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We strong together." Her confidence bolstered his resolve. No matter how dangerous things became, he refused to let fear dictate their actions. Together, they pressed on, driven by a shared purpose that transcended their individual fears. Their journey took them to New York City, where another fragment awaited. Navigating the bustling streets proved challenging, especially for Lyra, whose otherworldly appearance drew curious stares. To blend in, Ethan bought her a hoodie and sunglasses, though it did little to mask her ethereal aura. They eventually located the fragment hidden in the depths of an underground vault. Retrieving it required hacking into a high-security system, a task Ethan tackled with surprising ingenuity. As he worked, Lyra kept watch, her anxiety palpable. When the fragment was finally secured, they celebrated briefly before realizing they weren't alone. A group of armed men emerged from the shadows, demanding they hand over the artifact. "Who are you?" Ethan demanded, shielding Lyra protectively. The leader smirked. "Friends of the KRYLL. Hand it over or we'll take it by force." Lyra stepped forward, her eyes blazing with defiance. "No!" she shouted, unleashing a burst of energy that sent the intruders sprawling. Though they escaped unharmed, the incident left them wary. It seemed the KRYLL's influence extended further than they'd imagined. Trust, they realized, was a luxury they could no longer afford. With each fragment they collected, Lyra's connection to the artifact grew stronger. So too did the toll it took on her body. She began experiencing debilitating headaches and moments of disorientation, her skin flickering like a faulty light bulb. Ethan noticed her struggles and confronted her one night. "You're hurting yourself, Lyra. Is this worth it?" She looked at him sadly. "Worth everything. My people counting on me." Her dedication inspired awe but also guilt. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that he was asking too much of her. "There has to be another way," he insisted. Lyra shook her head. "No other way. But grateful for you. Help me finish." Her vulnerability broke his heart, yet it also strengthened his resolve. If this was her destiny, then he would see it through with her, no matter the cost. The last fragment was said to be hidden deep within the icy wilderness of Alaska. Ethan and Lyra braved sub-zero temperatures, their breath visible in the frigid air as they trekked across snow-covered landscapes. Lyra's glow dimmed further with each step, her energy waning under the strain of carrying the artifact's growing power. Ethan noticed her faltering steps and insisted on taking breaks more frequently. "You're pushing yourself too hard," he said one evening as they huddled around a small fire inside a makeshift shelter. Lyra shook her head stubbornly. "Must keep going. No time." But Ethan refused to let her sacrifice herself entirely. That night, as she slept fitfully, he studied the fragments they had collected so far. Each piece resonated with an almost sentient hum, vibrating softly in response to his touch. He wondered if there was a way to ease Lyra's burden, to share the weight of the artifact's energy. Though he lacked her abilities, he felt connected to the object in some inexplicable way, as though it recognized him as part of its story. When they finally reached the glacier where the final fragment was embedded, they were met with a breathtaking sight. A shard of crystalline material jutting out from the ice like a frozen star. As Lyra approached it, the ground beneath them trembled, and a low growl echoed through the air. "They're here," Ethan whispered, gripping the knife he always carried. From the shadows emerged a group of HFY warriors. Tall, insectoid beings with exoskeletons that gleamed menacingly in the moonlight. Their leader stepped forward, addressing Lyra in her native tongue. His voice was cold and calculating. "You cannot stop us, child of Lumina. The artifact belongs to the void." Lyra squared her shoulders, her golden light flaring defiantly. "Not yours." What followed was chaos. The HFY attacked without mercy, their weapons crackling with dark energy. Lyra unleashed everything she had, creating barriers of light to shield them, while Ethan fought back with whatever tools he could find. He hurled chunks of ice at their attackers, buying precious seconds for Lyra to focus on retrieving the fragment. As she reached for the shard, the HFY leader lunged at her, claws extended. Ethan reacted instinctively, throwing himself between them. Pain seared through his side as the HFY's blade grazed him, but he managed to knock the creature off balance long enough for Lyra to grab the fragment. The moment she touched it, the other pieces fused together, forming a single radiant orb. Its brilliance illuminated the battlefield, forcing the HFY to retreat into the shadows. But victory came at a cost. Ethan collapsed beside Lyra, blood staining the snow beneath him. "Ethan!" Lyra cried, cradling him in her arms. Her tears sparkled like diamonds as they fell onto his face. "I'm okay," he rasped, though his voice betrayed the severity of his wound. "Just finish this." With trembling hands, Lyra held the completed artifact aloft, pulsed with life, responding to her will. She closed her eyes, focusing all her strength on sealing its power away forever. As dawn broke over the glacier, the artifact dissolved into a cascade of golden light, dispersing harmlessly into the atmosphere. The threat was neutralized, but Lyra knew her time on Earth was running out. Completing the artifact had drained her completely. Her once vivid glow now flickered faintly, like a dying ember. Ethan watched her with a mixture of pride and heartbreak. "What happens now?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Lyra knelt beside him, her luminous eyes filled with sorrow. "I must return. My people need me." "But what about us?" Ethan pressed, desperation creeping into his tone. "After everything we've been through," she placed a gentle hand on his cheek. "Love, not bound by stars. Always with you." Her words brought both comfort and anguish. Ethan wanted to beg her to stay, to fight for a future together, but he knew it wasn't possible. Her destiny lay among the stars, just as his belonged to Earth. That night, under a sky ablaze with constellations, Lyra prepared to leave. Using the remnants of her ship's technology, she constructed a portal that would take her home. Ethan stood beside her, struggling to hold back his emotions. "Will I ever see you again?" he asked, his voice cracking. Lyra smiled softly. "Maybe, if stars align." Before stepping through the portal, she leaned in and kissed his forehead, leaving behind a faint imprint of light. Then, with a final glance, She disappeared into the shimmering gateway, which closed behind her with a soft chime. Ethan stood there for a long time, staring at the empty space where she had been. Despite the ache in his chest, he felt a strange sense of peace. Lyra had changed him in ways he never thought possible, teaching him to embrace wonder and live without fear. Months passed, and Ethan returned to his quiet life in Wyoming. Yet, he often found himself gazing at the stars, searching for any sign of Lyra. One evening, as he sat on his porch, he noticed something unusual, a faint golden streak slicing across the sky. It lingered for a moment before vanishing, leaving behind a warmth that filled his heart. He smiled, knowing she was still out there somewhere, watching over him just as he watched over the cosmos. Their love may have spanned galaxies, but it proved that even the vastness of space can't extinguish the light of true connection. Thank you for joining us on this interstellar journey. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind us of the infinite possibilities of the universe and the enduring power of love.